Welcome to Nerd Sports. Today we're going to talk about cricket and how the implements of. Let me go ahead and close out of this real quick.
Cricket. That's awesome.
But how do you like the coffee?
Coffee is, it's kind of nutty, Basil.
Yeah, it's that sweet vent.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so,
So you actually went to the Ranger Stadium this weekend.
yeah, New
on
Globe
Sunday.
Life Field. Yeah, I went to go take my boys to go see the Red Sox play. The bullpen gave it up, but whatever. Globe Life Field, Marlington. Yeah. I was excited to go. I mean, it's a live baseball game too. I get to go see my Red Sox play. It was a Sunday game, so usually that's like it's a 1:30 first pitch. So, new stadium looks like something out of a sci-fi spy novel. It's kind of like
Really?
if the Soviet Union had survived the Cold War, and then East Germany kind of became the industrial powerhouse that they were trying to make it, and the two came together and they had their architects come up with this. I mean, from the outside, it looks like I mean, it almost looks like the concrete dome over Chernobyl had a baby with the Hindenburg or something. I mean, wow. I mean, it is aesthetically an ugly building from the outside.
You're not going to talk about the score?
Well, yeah, okay. So the Red Sox lost 5-3. Okay,
You're so
I
adamant.
already addressed that the Red Sox lost because why the bullpen fucking gave it up.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, we're fucking moving on.
You're so
Because-
adamant. You're so adamant last week. The Red Sox gonna win. The Red Sox, they have all this
Well,
stuff going for 'em.
on paper, they should have won. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, besides that, Garrett Richards decided that he wanted to actually show up and pitch two outings in a row, and I was happy about that. But then, the bullpen came in. So we're like, okay, the bullpen, all right. Adam Ottavino, he's usually a stud. Comes in, he drags his gas can out to the hump and burns the fucking place down. And I'm like, and then we get these glaring reminders that
You're in Texas?
no, that these that our general manager for the Red Sox, Chaim Bloom, he's either a complete moron or he's a mad scientist who likes to play the long game. He let one of our star utility players go by the name of Brock Holt a couple of years ago. Last season, didn't re-sign him. Brock Holt ended up in Milwaukee, played there, did really well for the Brewers, and then he ended up as a non-roster invitee for the Rangers during their spring training this year. Any team in their right mind would be happy to sign this guy because he brings that kind of intangible product to the field and to the locker room, leadership. I mean, he's not going to be your perennial, hey, we're going to sign him to multi-million dollars, but he's a good, solid, old-school baseball player. And the guy is just fun to watch. And he ended up torching us for, what ended up being a 2-run go-ahead double in the 8th inning. So, kind of, read throughout the pages of Red Sox Nation on Facebook. It's, kind of, yep, Brock Holt, you got to tip your hat to the Brock Star because, I mean, he torched us in the 8th inning out there. But anyways, so the building, when you get to the inside, the interior is kind of modern, but it's still got this kind of like haphazard kind of quality to it. It's like kind of, like some of the things that they did inside the park were one of these last minute hold my beer thoughts. It's got a retractable roof, which, it's cool. I mean, it's a great concept. I love it. Do I think that every ballpark in America needs one? No, absolutely not. And we got to watch it open and close from the inside of the park, which was cool because it takes about 10 minutes to open, takes 10 minutes to close. And it runs on these tracks. And it was absolutely quiet. You could not hear a damn thing. And it was really cool just to kind of watch this thing moving, and see the shadows move across the field. It was pretty cool. But I mean, the acoustics inside the venue are awesome. I mean, the bats sound different when they smack that ball. I mean, it just reverberates throughout the entire, building. Um, it's built almost kind of like a coliseum, and the one of the biggest, I mean, and the absolute biggest takeaways that I had was the obstructed view seating. The seats where we sat in section 27.
Yep.
There we go. All right, so the section where we were sitting.
By the way, if you hear this noise, it's a cement trunk. Someone's doing remodeling next door, so yay.
You gotta love it,
Yeah.
Our semi-professional studio here.
Yeah. Even if it was a professional studio, if they're right outside and everything like that.
Well, I mean, we'd have more soundproofing, so
You
just saying.
think?
Yeah, probably. Anyway, so I mean, just like the sound of the bat, making contact with the ball is amplified. I mean, it just sounds different. You hear all these people talking about, well, it hits different. Well, it really kind of does. I mean, it. But anyway, like I was saying, the acoustics inside the building are cool. I mean, you can kind of sort of hear some of the conversations between the players on the field.
Is that due to the fact that how many people were actually there?
Well, see, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. I didn't look at the actual attendance for the game that day, but the Globe Life Field and Minute Maid Park are open to 100% capacity here in Texas. And I love it, because it's like, all right, enough is enough. We need to be able to get on with our lives. Yeah, anytime I get a number on my phone that's all zeros, no, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to talk to you.
I've never even seen that.
Yeah, usually it's because somebody's trying to tell me that my social security number has been compromised and that they're gonna suspend my social security number, like.
Oh, I just get spam, potential
or
spam. Right now.
yeah, it's like usually. Yeah, I like to toy with those scammers. It's funny, but anyways. So, but the acoustics in the building are amazing. I mean, it's there's plenty of seating. I mean, there's not quite as much seating as there was in the old ballpark, which is still up and across the street, literally across the street. But, the obstructed view seating was a huge. We're gonna push through.
Yeah.
The obstructed view seating was a huge letdown. I mean, none of the seats were advertised as obstructed view, none. And so I'm thinking, okay, great. And for the ticket sales, how most ballparks and most teams and most events, whenever you click on a section, it gives you kind of like a thumbnail of what to expect for your view. Nope, not here. Not yet, anyway. The seats where I was sitting, if you look from home plate, you're looking out into the center field, you'll see the visitors' bullpen on the left, just to the left of what's called the batter's eye. It's a row of completely blacked out windows, right? And I believe that those are like reserved. It's a lounge. I think that's in there if I remember right. But anyway, so from where we were sitting, you couldn't look down into the bullpen because they had all this plexiglass zip stripped to the handrails.
Oh.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, this is excessive. We're going to open this up to 100%, but yet we're going to cram people into areas, and we're going to. I mean, I could see the diamond. I could see what was going on the diamond. That's fine, but anything that got hit into center field and anything that got hit into right field, I couldn't see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I mean, it was right there, that lounge or whatever it is, the batter's eye area, it was completely blocking my view. You couldn't look down into the bullpen through the plexiglass because you had all these ushers going around like the Gestapo. there was a 6-year-old kid who was looking. He wasn't leaning over on the glass. He wasn't climbing on the glass. He was just looking down into the bullpen. I mean, future Hall of Famer. I mean, at least in my opinion, Jason Varitek. He played catcher for the Red Sox in the '04 and the '07 World Series teams, and he stayed on with the organization as a pitching or as a like a bullpen coach, right? And I mean, he's walking around in there, and I'm like, man, this is freaking cool because this is Jason fucking Varitek. I mean, this guy balls. It's like the only guy to punch A-Rod in the face.
Okay.
And so, I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay. You just put up with the plexiglass for a little bit because you can tell that it was put up for COVID protocols. I'll be glad when we can move past this because we didn't do a damn thing for H1N1. We went on about our lives like nothing was ever going on. But yet now all of a sudden we've got this COVID thing where it's got a 98 or 99% survivability rate.
99.9.
Yeah, and we're forcing people to get vaccinated, all this other good crap. And yet we're still blocking things off because why? Control? I don't know. 1984 much. I don't know. That's my take on it. But a 6-year-old was trying to look down into the bullpen. Now, this is my beef. Part of my beef with that is that part of the purpose of taking your kids to a game is so that way they can they can experience the sights, the sounds of the game, fall in love with it, and they can as a parent just kind of marvel at the awe that comes across their face because they're that close to Major League Baseball players.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we should deify these mortal men who are playing a perfect game, but it's cool because these guys are they're in the show. They're playing baseball for a living.
They're the top tier.
Yeah, I mean these are it. And
it's like how some people that are like tactical sluts, once they get to hang out with like tier 1 people and everything like that, they're getting a little scared.
Yeah, it'd be like Matt Best calling you on FaceTime when unexpectedly, Yeah.
But I don't know why would that happen, but that is just weird.
Yeah, I mean that would.
You should never say anything like that again.
But anyway, so here comes this usher, the security guard, tells the kid to sit in his seat. Doesn't say back away from the glass. It says, find your seat and sit down. And it's like, who the hell are you? I mean, they're not bothering anybody. They're not laying on the glass. They're just trying to look. And it's like, the governor of the state of Texas opened everything up at 100%. He opened up the state. We were one of the first states to do it. And you get all these liberal commentators and you get all this other.
Well, it's not even that. What it basically is, it's like that security guard that was in high school and he was a bully and he didn't have a niche when he was, he got out and he needed something to control and everything. And I mean,
he wasn't smart enough to become a cop, so he gets a private security job working at a stadium so he can bully other people around.
I bet that guy was a tactical slut.
Yeah, I don't know if so much of a tactical slut because he's one of those people that probably knows that the second that they get around people who actually have done that job for a living, that they're going to call him out on his crap and it's going to give him flashbacks to high school where he had to go cry and hide in the handicap stall in the men's, the boys' bathroom during the second half of the day. But I digress.
You never had to do that.
No, I didn't. Never did. That was never me. Anyways.
All right.
So, but it's like, okay, aside from the obstructed view seats that were not advertised as such, the plexiglass everywhere, the overbearing ushers and security guards that were, walking around with these signs saying, please wear your masks. 98% of the people that were in the stadium that day, in the park that day, to watch a damn game, no masks. And I was one of them, happily. I'm like, look, a good portion of the people walking around here have probably been vaccinated. 2, if if we feel that as a government, the state government, that we have the ability to open up at 100%, yes, while you are a private business and you can still reserve the right to dictate certain things, you really have to kind of look at yourself in the mirror and go, is it really that bad? You know, instead, no. I mean, they're going off of political expediency. They're trying to do the whole optically right thing. I just don't agree with it. You know, so do you have the right to wear a mask if you want to? Absolutely, but don't force it on people. Just like we, as people who don't want to wear masks, shouldn't force it on other people to say, you know what, you're wearing a mask, you're a retard. No, it's not that at all. We still have the opportunity and the ability to choose things that we want to do, like go to a ball game. But when I go to a ball game, don't dictate to me how I can sit there and watch that game. As long as I'm not being belligerent, as long as I'm not sitting there and endangering myself or the people around me, to include the players on the field, leave me alone and let me exercise my right to sit in that stand or to sit in that seat and watch a ball game with my kids. Okay? Now, the way that the facility had just it kind of had this minimum security feel to it. And like, okay, so like with the parking issues, okay? We got there early because when you go to a ball game, one of the biggest parts about going to a ball game is trying to get there for batting practice, right? Because, I mean, one, you get to watch these big leaguers get into the batting cage, and they get to put on a show because, I mean, they're just completely relaxed. They're in there trying to get their swing timing down. They're trying to just kind of warm up the muscles a little bit, but they're putting on a show. They're putting balls in seats. You know, I mean, they're launching baseballs.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best times to try to snag a souvenir. It's like, hey, check this out. I caught a batting practice ball. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, those things are still coming in pretty hot. So, I mean, it's like, you know, you're snagging those balls, you know, and it's like, all right, well, I've got one. I'm going to snag these, and I'm going to hand them to kids. You know, and it's just, that's part of the game. And, I mean, for years it's been that way. For whatever reason, the way that the city of Arlington, the Texas Rangers baseball organization, and the people who run Globe Life Field, they kind of don't see it that way anymore. And so, like the parking lots for a Sunday game with a 1:30 first pitch, those parking lots don't open until 11:30. They don't open the gates until 12. And I'm like, you know, you're paying $10, $25, sometimes $85, depending on what lot you want to park in, just to sit there and be told, hey, look, I know you showed up early, but you're going to have to drive around somewhere for about an hour. And, you know, it's either that or, you know, you go find some place that's got an open lot, you'll pay them just to move your car back. And it's like, no, I'd already paid for the parking, pre-reserved. Open up the damn lot, you know? I mean, what's opening
ridiculous.
up the lot? What is opening up the lot going to do? You know, we were literally across the street, across and down, just down the street from the gates, and you got this overbearing, not personable at all
He was
individual.
pulled off his mom's tit for.
Well,
before
no,
he
and
should
he
have.
wasn't even a young guy. He was just some old salty ass dude who,
It still could have happened.
you know, he comes pulling up in this golf cart and he's like, "You guys are gonna have to leave." We're like, "Yeah, about that. I'm just trying to figure out what time the lot actually opens up." And he goes, "Well, how did you guys get into here?" I was like, "Well, we lifted the rope and drove underneath it." I mean, you do the math.
Oh, you broke the rules?
Yeah, I broke the rules.
What the fuck were you thinking?
I don't know, America, but
Okay.
Anyway, so the parking lots didn't open until 11:30. The gates didn't open until 12. You know, and
That is really sweet.
but the coffee, not what the gates. I was just clarifying for our like three viewers. Anyway, so
1.5.
walk in, and and I'm like, okay, this is good, this is great, this is going to be awesome. Walk in, I look down on the field, and the grounds crew is already out there trying to get the field ready for game time. No batting cages, no mat. There's usually a mat that they put over the mound, or there's usually a mat that they put over home plate down there, just so that way it's usually like a mat of AstroTurf that they put down there, or a rubber mat that they put down so they can protect the batters boxes. Because that way, players will get in and they'll dig in, and they'll dig divots into the batters boxes before the game, before the game starts, and I don't know, it just doesn't look good. But I mean, usually the field's set up, they're out there, the players are out there warming up, they're getting their swings in, prior to game time, and then they go back down in there. It's like, they've either moved all of that up to where, the players are out there like 9, 10:30, and they practice until maybe 11, 11:30, and then they go down into the locker room. It's like to get dressed out or whatever, and like open that back up, let the fans see that. And through some of the conversations that I was a part of in the line waiting to get through the gate, one of the perks of buying season tickets was early access. Like you could get in 30 minutes prior to
Yeah.
opening.
Just
the
like
opening of the gates.
Clear up in the airport or some shit like that.
Right.
Or the Fast Pass up at.
Yeah, they took that away. Yeah, and the Fast Pass at Disney, not so much anymore. I mean, you still get queued up, and you're being watched by cameras, and God forbid you take your mask down to unlock your phone, because then you'll get a text stating that hey, mask policies are being enforced, blah blah blah. But with the deficiencies aside, whether it was protocols for COVID, or the money grab, or just a piss poor way that the front office of baseball does business these days, the experience was just a little bit less than lackluster. I tried to take away the positives. I was there, finally getting to see a live ball game for the first time in a couple of years, and I was there with my kids. So and overall, we enjoyed ourselves. Yeah, sure, the Red Sox lost, but we still got to go see a ball game. We still got to see the Red Sox play. And, we got to see some really decent baseball, that's kind of the point, though, isn't it? It's like fathers and sons, brothers taking in games and stuff like that. Despite the physical shortcomings of the stadium, as far as like the obstructed view seating and the plexiglass. The plexiglass, you could tell, was kind of an afterthought. Because it was all zip stripped in. So it wasn't like bolted in or anything like that. They had it zip stripped. So it's not like they can't go in and just cut it down. And at some point, people that run that facility collectively pull their heads out of their fourth point of contact, and they cut that damn plexiglass down to where we can interact with the players like we used to, and we can interact, and we don't have that distortion of the view, of the field. Because plexiglass, you look through plexiglass, and it's just like you get that wave, because it's not, they just pump out that clear plastic.
It obscures your vision a little bit.
It does.
Yeah.
In addition to the architecture of the place, the plexiglass obscured the view. So yeah, while it does sound like I'm kind of going off on this whole semi-entitled, rant or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of sounding like you got a first world problem there.
Yeah, it is a first world problem, but at the same time, it's like it's a problem that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So take down the damn plexiglass. Let's try to get back to the way things used to be before everybody started losing their minds over this COVID thing.
It's gonna be probably around about a year and a half until everything gets normal.
It's not going to keep me from going to another ball game. I'm just going to pick a different section to sit in, because now that I've been there, I can, and I know what what seats offer the best view. Yeah, I'll have to pay more for it, but you know what? Fine. To me, just either fix the seats or advertise them as obstructive views, but give the people buying the tickets to these events a chance to make the most of the time and money that they're devoting to your venue.
Yeah.
The
totally archery challenge. The only problem I had, of course, it was an outdoor event.
Yeah.
Every vendor and everything was outdoors and everything. No one was wearing a mask. And we went into. I had a. And by the way, I'm never eat at a place like Carlsbad Caverns.
Yeah.
Burger was like $10.
Yeah, the concessions.
That's where they really rape you.
You
I
remember
mean,
you remember how concession stands used to be cash and credit?
yeah.
Yeah, there it's all credit card now. Like if you take cash into the ballpark, you're not going to buy anything with it.
Oh wow.
Now, the Texas Live Plaza outside the ballpark, great, awesome. Um, it it kind of makes me laugh because the plaza outside was a complete contradiction to what was going on inside. Where inside, even though it's like an open area,
Yeah.
the roof was open that day. They're like, please wear your masks. Here, sit behind this plexiglass. Sit in your seats. Don't stand up and don't do this.
We finally have control of you.
Right, but second we get outside, everybody's crammed together in this little plaza because they had turned this water fountain on,
Yeah.
and it was like a water feature, with those nozzles that come up out of the ground. Kids and adults were out there because it was kind of humid, but it was really kind of warm Sunday afternoon, and they were getting wet. They were playing in the water, and it was cool, And I even let my youngest son, Reagan, he he was running through the water getting wet, and I'm like, yeah, go for it, Nobody outside was wearing a mask at all, and we're all within like a foot and a half of each other.
Oh no.
They had live music playing, people coming in and out of Texas Live. There's a store there in the Texas Live, the Globe Life Field Plaza, I guess, called Baseballism, and it's just a store devoted to nothing but baseball, right?
Oh, okay. Is that where you got the hat, or did you
No, no, no. The hat I ordered offline, but it's the new Armed Forces Day hat for 2021. But they don't cater to a team at all. I mean, it's all like the baseball lifestyle. They got shirts that have like Sandlot references, Major League, the movie Major League. They got a shirt that's got the statue of Jobu. Right, it says it's very bad to take Jobu's rum, very bad, And, I've got a shirt. I ordered a shirt that had been back ordered for forever, but I went in there, and they had it on sale, or they had it available in stock. So I was like, I bought another one, and I gave my old one to my son Colin. But it's baseball math, and it's 6 4 3 equals 2. Right, and it's an addition problem. 6 plus 4 plus 3 equals 2, and in your mind, you're like, oh, that's 13. No, it's really not, because if you look the way that the positions are numbered on the baseball field and how they score certain plays, 6-4-3 means the shortstop to second to first, and that's usually how most double plays occur. So 6 plus 4 plus 3 equals 2 outs, so it's a double play. And I love that shirt because, one, the people who know, they get it. And they're like, that's awesome. I like that. But then you get these other people that are just like completely clueless. Like yesterday, I wore that shirt to my son's practice. And I had a couple of the parents, mostly the moms, they were like, I don't get that shirt because 6 plus 4 plus 3 does not equal 2. I'm like, yes, it does. It's baseball math. And I explained it to them, and they're like, oh, well, I either get the, oh, that's clever, I like that, or, oh, that shirt's just stupid. Well, it's okay, because baseball's kind of a smart person sport anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, so.
Because there's so much statistics and everything like that. If you actually went down and did all the math and everything like that, you should be able to get a little bit,
I mean, everything's
it's more
gonna,
for,
yeah. Every sport has a technical side to it. You're going to have that intellectual approach where you get the pitcher and the pitcher and the hitter. They're trying to outguess each other. and you're wanting to see, okay, is the defense lined right? Is my catcher and I, are we on the same page? Where are my base runners at if I'm up to bat? Where are the holes in the defense so I can try to poke the ball through there to push the runners up 90 feet or get them across home plate. There's so much going on outside of just what the visual aesthetic of the game is. I mean, it's like we were talking about a couple weeks ago about racing. There's more than just driving fast and turning left. There's so much more on the technical side because these guys have engineering degrees, and a lot of the guys that play this game, I mean, most of them went to college and played college ball. But everybody, almost to a man, will acknowledge that more and more nowadays everything's about the launch angle. So it's all about trajectory. It's all about angle of launch. It's all about exit velocity. And I mean, I think that the launch angle era of baseball is really going to kind of be a detriment to the game. I think we just need to get back to being more of a hitter as opposed to a slugger, because I mean we're living in the era of the home run. So, and I think that the game will police itself over the natural progression of time versus instituting rules that are going to hurt the game more than it is going to help. Like there's a theory that there's a supply of dead balls circulating amongst the major league teams that are that are being used in games. Dead balls is you smack the crap out of it, but it's not going to go anywhere, kind of a thing. I mean, you can hit a big long.
They have conspiracy theories for almost anything nowadays.
Black helicopters are in abundant supply.
Birds aren't real.
Yes, they are.
They're drones that are.
They're drones.
Every once in a while, they have to come in,
right.
And they have to recharge them and everything. I don't know where the port is or anything, or if they actually have batteries or anything. But no, I've actually seen a couple of these birds.
Right. Yeah. But all that aside,
the draft.
I
Was last
was going
week.
to say, yeah.
And Kentucky Derby was this weekend too.
Yeah.
And they opened everything up with that too.
The
that's
owner
more.
of the horse has now won 7 Kentucky Derbies.
Oh wow!
And his entry had 12-1 odds, and I'm sitting there going, I had completely forgotten about it because I had planned on betting on the Kentucky Derby this year, and I was like, man, 12-1. I mean, even though it's kind of a long shot, I mean, it's like that's still a pretty safe bet, because even if the horse had finished like third, you still would have finished in the money.
Yeah.
So
you would still get a little bit of it.
You still would have, yeah. I mean, but dude, the people that bet on that horse and that horse alone, I mean, they cleaned up.
Yeah, there was a guy on a podcast that they do the sports show also, and I listened to him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I spent probably around about I don't know what happened.
I don't either.
I'm still really going strong. So
yeah, there we go. See.
Yeah. No, I think he put down like $300 and made $4,000.
See, to me, yeah, so yeah, but
it was almost a sure win.
Yeah, I had completely forgotten about the Derby, and I was like, oh crap! And then when I realized, I was like, oh, it's today. I was like, oh crap! So I mean, I'm sitting there trying to find these like online, online betting pages, and by the time I remembered that it was running, like all of the sites had already closed up. They'd already closed the betting for the Derby, and I'm like, oh crap, and I don't know enough about horse racing to do anything conservatively beneficial or destructive. I mean, I think I would be doing more harm to myself and my pocketbook than anything else. But the 2021 draft, there were actually a few surprises. Remember, I had said that Mac Jones was supposed to have gone to the 49ers. Remember when?
Yeah.
Well, he slid. He slid back to the 15th pick, and I think it was the 15th pick. But
who was it?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, he went to the.
He went to the Patriots.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that was another thing that a lot of people.
Based on that pick alone, on this pick alone, a lot of the draft experts and a lot of the analysts and the pundits are saying that New England basically won the draft this year, and
Well, not even that. There was a lot of people that picked quarterbacks. It was a quarterback. Everybody wanted a new quarterback for some reason.
Yeah, it marks the third time that the first three picks were quarterbacks. That was 79 or 71 and 99 drafts, but a total of 8 quarterbacks were selected in the first 3 rounds, and that was the most in draft history. In addition to the number of quarterbacks, 6 players from Alabama were taken in the first round. This tied with the 6 Miami players that were taken in '04, which is the most first round selections from an individual school. No Big 12 conference players were drafted for the first time in the first round for the first time since '94 when the Big 12 was created. Michigan State did not have a player selected breaking an 80-year streak.
Well, the big one, and I might get this wrong if someone just message me or something like that if I get this totally wrong. I guess the number 1 draft. There was one big upset. Is like people were just like, no, it was Trevor Lawrence. People were upset at that because one, he really didn't play football in college. I mean, he played like the last season, and he only played like a couple of.
No. Trevor Lawrence, he was the starting quarterback from Clemson, and he played the last few years. I mean, I think he played it all 4. Well, yeah, I think he played the 4 years at Clemson, but he did well at his pro day. He did well at the combine. And actually, no, I don't even think he did the combine. Anyways, that's not the point. But it was considered, this year's draft was considered to be very talent poor as a result of the reduced 2020 schedule. I mean, for example,
he only played 3 seasons, and the last season, he didn't play that much. It looks like, because I know he had COVID, like halfway through the season, and he couldn't play.
And then he came back and he played in the playoffs,
yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, then that is the guy that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that are like professional sports fans and everything, and they do show. And this was an outrage.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at some of these guys like Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, I think Trey Lance. There was a lot of guys that got selected in the first round. They opted out from last year. They didn't even play last year.
Yeah.
So the last sample that we've got for these players in full pads at full speed, game time conditions,
is a year ago.
Was from 2019.
Yeah.
And so I mean, but you get these guys are going in the first round, and it's like, really, I mean, not to take away from them, not to take away from the moment that they got to share with their families. These guys, they didn't play last year.
Well,
so
not even that.
Why didn't you want to declare for the draft last year? But
yeah.
And
but the thing is not even that. I have not seen, and this is from a person that's sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
That just briefly looks at this stuff and looks at the statistics because people want to have a conversation. I'll talk about anything.
Right.
And most of the number 1 draft picks, no matter who it is a lemon.
Well, I mean,
and that very, very, it's like hitting a lottery scratcher. I mean, you scratch it off. You might win a dollar, you might not. But most of the time, the number 1 draft pick. If you look in consistency,
and a lot of that, and to play devil advocate to your point, a lot of the reason why the number 1 pick either hits or misses is because they get drafted. I mean, literally to be the number 1 pick, unless you trade up to get to the number 1 pick, the number 1 pick is the worst team from the previous year.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that's why Cleveland, for the longest time, they were the running joke of the NFL because they would draft star quarterback after star quarterback after star quarterback, And these people just floundered
Yeah, you didn't.
in Cleveland because they didn't have, one, an offensive line playing around them. Two, they didn't have any offensive weapons to throw to. And it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And you see a lot of guys. They either go to the New York Jets and just have a miserable experience in the NFL. They go to the Cleveland Browns, and well, Cleveland being what Cleveland used to be, at least before Jeremy Mayfield got there, or Baker Mayfield, um, he he kind of changed the lexicon in Cleveland a little bit there, because he came in there with a he knew, he was like, okay, look, I know it's Cleveland, but we're gonna fix this. And he brought an intensity to the locker room. I mean, a lot of guys, yeah, he's a hothead, and he says sometimes some ill-advised shit. But I think that he changed the way that players viewed the organization, or at least the way that they viewed playing in Cleveland, because where, like, okay, so kind of to make like a baseball reference here, a lot of these past their prime, yeah, I'm still a big name, but kind of players, New York, the Yankees will come in, they'll sweep them up, and they'll, kind of make their image over again because they got to be clean shaven, and all of a sudden now I'm playing in pinstripes, and oh, I've found a new lease on life. And you'll find these players that you really think that they've kind of played past their prime. They play that first year that they play in New York, they kind of, it's like a little bit of a resurgence, but that's about it. You'll I think Mayfield brought that to Cleveland. He kind of brought a sense of pride back to the organization. The fans have always been there. I mean, God love them. The fans in Cleveland are the quintessential whipping children of the NFL, or even in the sporting world for that matter, with the exception of the Cavaliers and LeBron James. I mean, these people in Cleveland have not experienced an actual championship since, like, I think the 50s. So
I'm curious about that.
I think it was like 53 or 58. I cannot remember. Don't get me wrong, because I mean because I know that when the Indians went to the World Series in 2016, and it gets all the way to Game 7, and they ended up losing to the Cubs. I mean, the people in Cleveland were absolutely shattered, because they were this close to winning a World Series, and then Aroldis Chapman happened. But I digress. So,
Oh, wow. Hold on real quick. One champion. I'm not seeing. Okay, there we go. Last time they actually went, they lost in the wild card in 2002, but they've actually gone. Let's see. You said 50. No, it can't be the 50s. They didn't start up until 1960.
well, no, because there was a.
Oh yeah. I got you.
Yeah, it was like an AFL team or something.
1964.
Like that. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it was so long ago. Anyways, so back to the draft. So we knew that the Niners were going to move up, but they kind of surprised everybody. Instead of taking Mac Jones from Alabama, they took Trey Lance from North Dakota State. So for whatever reason, they thought, okay, well, this guy is going to fit into our system. That really surprised everybody, and
There was a lot of surprises on
there
this
was.
draft.
And when the Falcons, I'm trying to remember if the Falcons traded up or whatever, but when they got Kyle Pitts, that tight end from Florida, and then Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati's already got a quarterback in oh crap, I cannot think of his name off the top of my head. They drafted him 2 years ago out of LSU after LSU won their championship. I cannot remember the kid's name, and that's really going to upset me. But anyway, so they went out and they drafted Cincinnati. Why
trying
can I
to
not think of his name?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to find it.
You can really tell that I've done my homework today. Let me see here.
Well, I had the stuff up just because. Here, let me send you the website I'm on right now. Sometimes you have good ones. There you go.
Joe Burrow.
That's the website I'm on right now.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. That's who I was thinking of. Well, I've got the NFL app on my phone too.
Oh, okay.
But they go out and they get themselves a wide receiver from LSU. So I mean, there's going to be a degree of familiarity with Joe Burrow and his new wide receiver. So I mean, they both come from the same alum, and so I mean, there's going to be some of that instant like connection, that chemistry that's going to be there.
I wonder if these grades are actually the actual grade of the player or the grades they got in school.
No, it's the grade that they're assigning grades to the teams that drafted them. It's like, okay, so based on this pick, how did we do here from A to F?
Because the Las Vegas Raiders got a grade of C.
Yeah,
Alex Leatherwood wood.
The Raiders traditionally, I mean, the last few years, they have not been real. I don't want to use the word
They haven't been really good for a while.
Well, it's not so much that. I mean, they scrap together the pieces from the league that nobody else wants, and they try to build a team around it, and that's fine. That's great. That's good. As long as you can get these guys that you signed to buy into your system, you can do anything you want. Well, but as far as like the draft is concerned, I mean, the Raiders, they finish about the middle of the pack every year. So you either need to tank a year, or you just need to go out and spend the money to sign the free agents that are going to get you to that championship level. But they finish in the middle every year, so it's not. I mean, you're not getting the best draft picks to begin with. So it's not like you can really build your system. And that's the problem with finishing in the middle every year. It's like you just kind of, you're not quite there, but you're not complete crap at the same time.
Well, they got an A+ for getting a safety, Trevor Morahan.
Yeah.
Morahan?
Now, something of note, too, is that the Dallas Cowboys, for the very first time ever in franchise history, did nothing but select defensive picks.
Well, they got a good offense. They don't have a good defense.
Well, yeah, true. Now, to that extent, anybody who's ever been a Cowboys fan, or is anybody who's ever watched football, even in passing, especially around these parts, I mean, it's you Cowboys, you know.
Yeah, I can't get away from it. That's the reason why I know so much about the Cowboys.
Right. Know that Jimmy Jones.
Go with it.
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones.
Sorry. I was thinking racing for a second, but Jerry Jones, he can't get out of his own way. He's like, well, I'm the owner and the general manager. No, dude, you need to let your coaching staff pick the players. You need to let your operations managers pick these players. You need to be hands off. I mean, great. I mean, he's got a great.
Look at Nolan Ryan. I mean, he does. Does he still own the Texas Rangers?
No, he got forced out by John Daniels, the general manager of the Rangers. Okay. They basically just had Nolan Ryan come on and sign on to the ownership group as a way to win the bid from Major League Baseball. So they wanted him in name only, and when he tried to interject and say, "Hey, look, I used to play for this organization. I am a ball player at heart. Here's what I think needs to happen." John Daniels had this these other ideas and forced him out. Now Nolan Ryan, last time I heard, he is a consultant for the Astros organization, because he moved back to Alvin, Texas, where he's from, and that's down there in South Texas around the Houston area. Anyway, but anyway, so the Cowboys, for the first time in franchise history, and I think they really set a draft record. Every one of their picks was a defensive player. Most notably in the first round was Micah Parsons from Penn State. He's a linebacker, so he's going to immediately try to fill that hole that Sean Lee left whenever he retired, just before he announced his retirement, just before this year's draft. So I think a lot of that was I think a lot of the like the holes that we've got in our defense, and plus the fact that Sean Lee goes out and retires after like a 12 or 15 year, I think it was a 12-year career. He spent every year in the NFL with the Cowboys, so he retired. He came up as a Cowboy, he retired as a Cowboy. Great, good on you.
Hey, sorry to stop you.
No, go ahead.
Well, I knew he was a rancher and everything like that, but okay.
If you're gonna make a joke about Nolan Ryan's beef,
Yeah, I found the website.
yeah,
It's not a joke. I'm not
I know.
doing a joke. But
I know, because like, okay, so he used to, whenever, like, it used to be like a few years ago, every time a Rangers pitcher got a strikeout at home, he struck out another batter, they would have this Nolan Ryan's beef K counter that go across the little jumbotron that they'd had there, and yeah. I mean, you can insert your joke here. It's like, okay, you've become another victim of Nolan Ryan's beef, and it's like, Nolan Ryan's beef used to be the supplier for hot dogs at the ballpark.
actually, no, it's still it's still
yeah, it still
but it's
is
Houston.
But I mean, they serve Nolan Ryan beef in Arlington as well. But
Okay.
and I mean, you'd always hear those jokes, kind of be like, yeah, I want some of Nolan Ryan's beef right here. Like give me one of Nolan Ryan's wieners. Yeah, I mean, you'd hear those jokes all the time,
Okay.
and it's like you could really tell that. I mean, as soon as I knew you were,
I wasn't trying to make a joke. I was
I
like,
could-
oh, okay,
your microphone's working really well because I heard the gears turning.
Oh, yeah.
So
I gotta turn this down a little bit more
But
because I'm still going into the yellow way too much. There we go. All right.
But I mean,
There we
the
go.
Ravens. If I'm not mistaken, let me see here. The Ravens, they had. Let me see here.
I'm trying to find the Ravens. I wish I had this thing that I used to have on my old computer that I could just find stuff on the page that I was at, and I just had to type it in.
The Ravens had like 2 picks there towards the end of the first round. The Jets had 2 picks. Had one.
They had
two,
second draft, and they
they had 2, but they had 2 picks during the first round.
yeah. Now the from is they drafted this from the Eagles because that was another thing that I was kind of weirded about is they can draft from other teams.
Well, no, you're trading draft picks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like, let me try to think here. Let me see.
You said the Ravens.
Yeah, the Eagles traded. I think it was. I mean, they traded up from the Cowboys. I guess the Cowboys and I think the Cowboys were supposed to draft later
Okay, I got
in
it.
the round. And I mean, you see a lot of these like multiple team trades going on, like okay, just hypothetically speaking here. So it's like, okay, so Dallas will get a player that they want from, like, say, San Francisco, but Dallas had to give up 2 second-round picks, or they like the 2021 and maybe the 2022 draft picks for the second round. And then what San Francisco would do is they would take those 2 draft picks, and that would be considered what was called draft pick or draft capital, okay? And they would use that to entice another team. So, like, if San Francisco, let's just say that they were scheduled to draft like 16th in the round or 17th in the round of the first round, but they really wanted to go out and get a new quarterback, but they knew in order to do that they had to get up there at the top 5 picks. So let's just say that they went to Houston and said, hey, we are going to give you these 2 draft picks for the second round, for one for this year and next year, plus cash or plus a player or something like that.
Okay.
And so you bring that third team into the fold. And so in order for people to understand how San Francisco got up to the 3rd pick, like, for example, this year there was a 3-way deal between Miami, Houston, and San Francisco for San Francisco to get up there that high. Now,
Now you're saying the Baltimore Ravens, Bateman. Were you talking about Bateman, the wide receiver? From
Yeah,
Minnesota?
Rashad Bateman. Yeah, he was I think he was a pretty good pick.
The hell
Now
is an
through
edge?
a defensive edge,
Oh, okay.
they're going to be the guys that are out there, the speed rushers on the edge of the defensive line. They're the ones that are going to try to get around the outside tackles or the tight ends to try to sack the quarterback.
Okay.
I mean, it's their job to get around the edge of the offensive line to try to get an unimpeded path to the quarterback or the running back, depending on who's back there, to try to create a loss on the play. So
something every day.
Baltimore, they went out, and if you look at what Baltimore's done in free agency before the draft,
Because they also got an edge to.
right? But as far as like offensively speaking, Baltimore's going to have a scary offensive line next year. So I mean, Lamar Jackson, their quarterback, he's one of these like two-dimensional players where he can pass as a pocket passer and he can also run.
Okay.
And he can create missed tackles. Just by the way that he moves and his agility and his just pure athletic skill. Putting this type of offensive line that they've got, that they were able to build, it includes a lot of like their core guys, and then they went out and got some like veteran pieces from some of these other teams and signed them to free agency deals. So they're going to have a good offensive line, but they go out and they draft this Rashad Bateman, who's he was a decent, really good wide receiver from Minnesota. So I think that overall, I think the Ravens, they go out and let's see, what was Bateman rated at here? Hold on, let me look. Yeah, Rashad Bateman they gave him an A grade on that. They needed to continue to upgrade its wide receiver core to support Lamar Jackson. And they went out and they made a couple free agency signings, but the draft is really kind of where you're gonna find that talent that you're gonna bring in from the college game, introduce them to the professional level, and develop that particular individual to play in your system, your style of system play. Coupled with the quarterback that, I mean, if Lamar Jackson goes anywhere besides Baltimore, the people of Baltimore need to really kind of storm the front office, storm the headquarters of the Ravens and demand the
We're
general
gonna get
manager.
canceled if you say that. So just.
Oh no!
Push
No,
that
I'm not encouraging. Now, it's funny enough, there's a Twitter account that I follow. Her name's Ashlyn. She's a Braves fan, but she's really just kind of a baseball person. So and I follow her for the baseball content. But somebody had tweeted out, if you're over the age of 15 and you still own jerseys and wear them to games, you need to put away the video games and reevaluate your life. And she replies with a picture of herself in one of her Braves jerseys. She's like, what? And I was like, yeah. So I took a picture of me and my two boys at the ballpark at Globe Life from Sunday, and I was like, yeah, fuck this guy. I love my jerseys. And I wasn't attacking him at all. And this guy, he sits there and he copies and retweets my tweet on his timeline with another privileged white male attacking me for my opinion. I bet he's a Trumper. And I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? And then he replies to me directly in the thread, and he's like, hey, shouldn't you be storming the Capitol instead of attacking my opinions on Twitter? And I was just like, let me see if I can find my tweet here real quick.
Oh my God! Am I gonna have to put this on Facebook?
No, you're not. I'm not gonna make you do that.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I love the troll.
Yeah. So he goes, hey man, shouldn't you be storming a Capitol instead of attacking my opinions on Twitter? Yikes! And I was like, yep.
Snapchat.
I was
shot
like,
that
yep,
to
you're
me.
a keeper, man. Whew, you and that clever brain of yours, you're too much awesomeness there, man. I surrender. And I gave that little eye roll emoji at the end. And I was just like, really, I don't have time, nor the desire to engage in a battle of wits with an unarmed person, and...
I was like beating up a mentally challenged person.
Well,
I
no.
mean, everybody's going to look down on you.
Aside from the obvious, let's just not go there on that comment there. Just
next time, just give him his blankie back, okay?
In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have just said "fuck that guy." I should have been like, don't listen to him. I like my jerseys too, or just not even addressed him. Just been like, I happen to be a fan of my jerseys.
Well, it's like that whole thing.
But
what
it's the
happened
whole-
last week with LeBron James?
But yeah, but it's the whole. And this is a white guy that said, "Hey, there's another white male attacking me for my opinion," but it's like, why do you have to make it racial?
He doesn't. He probably identifies as different
it's why
ethnicity.
why do you have to make it racial, and two, why do you have to politicize everything?
Yeah.
The fact that I'm white
Well,
and
that's
a
the thing.
male
That's
doesn't mean that I'm a Trumper. It's like, yes, I voted for Trump. I'm not gonna shy away from that, but that doesn't make me a racist. And by the way, at the risk of kind of jumping wildly off track, neither is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because the African American community never had a problem with him when he was being invited to their NAACP.
Yeah.
Sharpton, Jackson.
As soon as he was voted in, a lot of people actually.
As soon as he announced that he was going to run as a Republican, all of a sudden now he's a racist.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so disingenuous, and people just they don't bother to look stuff up. They just assume, and then they regurgitate the talking points of the party that they voted for. And it's like,
okay, back to the draft.
Anyways, back to the draft. Yeah, thank you for saving that.
I'm going to have to do that every once in a while. I'm just going to have to cut you off.
Yeah, so, but the Saints, the New Orleans Saints, they go out and...
What, Pat Turner? Another edge?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah.
Because I'm really
Turner,
down to...
Peyton Turner.
Peyton Turner, okay.
Yeah, so... he was from the University of Houston.
He was a B minus.
Yeah, so everybody's like, oh, why didn't they go out and get a new quarterback? Well, they've already got a quarterback.
Yeah.
And Drew Brees announced his retirement this year, and hey, rightfully so. Go out on your own terms. I don't think necessarily that his body's beat up. I just think that he knew it was time, and because. You're going to amass all these stats, and you're going to. He's already won the Super Bowl once with New Orleans. I believe he
better
was
to
the Super
go
Bowl
out
MVP
as
that
a
year.
decent player than the.
It's one of those.
Why is he still there? Why would they give him a walker?
Yeah, it's one of those. Go out a hero or live long enough to become the villain. And I think I think we started to see the writing on the wall there because he had taken a very conservative stance towards, especially during the early stages of the whole George Floyd thing. Mm-hmm. He took a very conservative stance on it, and he was lambasted by his team, by his teammates, and the court of public opinion. He was lambasted for his conservative stance on it. He had a very pro-police stance.
Yeah.
And he started getting criticized left and right. Completely and totally raked over the coals by these, I hate using this term, but the woke crowd. Both ESPN, talk radio, the fan base, the other players in the locker room. They just started throwing around terms like racist, and I'm like, look, he had an opinion. We don't sit there and criticize you for your opinion. You're entitled to it. Just make it sound educated at least, and he didn't come out. And it wasn't even an overtly racist comment. He was just like, I support police. And it's like there's no reason why
you can't do that now.
Yeah,
it's one of those, especially if you're high up to where people will actually listening to you,
right?
And that goes on both sides, honestly.
It does
because you'll have people. I did. I was listening to it's Q. It's some kind of Q right wing because I was listening to Time Suck and they did Antifa and Q. Antifa, the far left wing, anti-fascist, but they're fascist, so it's weird. And you got the Qs, which are they believe that the Denver airport is a portal to hell.
I've heard that the Denver airport has massive, miles long,
It's
like
all
maglev or monorail trains that go straight to Cheyenne Mountain. Yeah, I've heard a lot of it too.
Yeah,
So.
it's but you got it weirded on both sides. Now, is it entertaining? Yes. Is all the stuff that I read and listened to on these guys real? Fuck no. Yeah. There's no way on that one that I'm ever gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna have a I'm gonna put them into a car and go, hey, why don't you come with me? No, I'm gonna look and just eat my popcorn.
Yeah.
But that's it.
I'm sending you that screenshot along with a lot of the pictures from Sunday too. So.
Okay.
But
you'll have on a lot of these picks. I mean, a lot of them were. I'll say this again. They were really, really upset to the point they were, that thought of burning down the place was very high, or beating up their grandmother. I don't know.
I mean, it's funny because you'll see these fans.
Or their grandmother beating up their child.
You'll see these fans for all of the teams, all 32 teams. They're
called super fans.
Well, just fans in general, super fans.
Well, you got the regular fans. You got the regular fans,
yeah,
and then you got the super fans that just. I mean, when they hear something like that, they have to buy a new TV because they threw something at it.
Those are just children. But anyways, and that's even giving kids with a bad temper a bad name. But anyways, so.
I can't say it because I don't want to edit it, man.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Yeah, when the Red Sox lose, am I happy about it? No. But am I going to go punch a hole through my wall, or am I going to throw crap at my TV? No. I'm going to grouse about it for a few minutes, and then I'm going to move on. Because why does it does the Red Sox winning or losing ultimately affect the way that I live my life? No. So should the
For my dad, it did for a while.
Well, but here's the thing. If you let professional sports affect your life to that extent, it's like these people that talk about, well, I don't like the way that baseball's going, so I'm not ever going to watch baseball ever again. You're full of shit.
Yeah.
Or you get these people that, and I'm gonna bag on NASCAR for a second. Not necessarily the fans. Well, the fans to an extent, but when NASCAR came out and they said, "Well, we're gonna ban the Confederate flag." Oh, well, that's cute. Fine, whatever. They've been trying to do it for years. They just used Bubba Wallace and this Black Lives Matter movement as kind of their way to finally get it done.
Yeah. I mean,
you get all these absolute. We've been watching this thing since they were running on the sand at Daytona. You get these fans that are from the deep, deep, deep South, and I mean, you see stock footage from the races, and you see the campers and shit in the infield. You see a Confederate flag, probably every other camper. Yeah. Does that make us a racist bunch of white rednecks? Absolutely not. I mean, the Confederate flag, the stars and bars that they're referring to, was just a battle flag. I mean, it wasn't the actual flag of the Confederate States. A lot of these people are like, look, it's about heritage, not hate, and that rebuttal has been argued. I mean, it's been shouted down so much over the course of the years that. I mean,
it's like that guy in the white robes burning a tea for tolerance in front of a person's yard.
Oh, I'm just gonna ignore you saying that. But
Reno 911 reference.
Yeah.
Can't hate me. It was on a TV show.
Anyway, so but over the draft, I mean, what was it, like 7 rounds? Yeah, it was like 7 rounds.
Was it 7 rounds? All I got was like 3.
7 rounds, a total of 259 picks. Now, are every single one of these guys going to get
Oh,
signed?
it's just the analysts from 1 to 3.
Yeah. So overall, all 7 rounds, all 259 picks overall. Are
What was your opinion on the best and the worst?
I think the best, probably. I think Mac Jones going to New England, probably hands down. That is going to be probably the best. And here's the thing: I was listening to Boston Talk Radio this morning. Their local WEEI. They're the flagship affiliate for all the Red Sox games. So I mean, I listen to them in the mornings from time to time on the Odyssey app.
Okay.
I was listening to some of them, and they were like, okay, so this Mac Jones, I mean, they're not completely sold on him, but the way that he's going to be viewed as far as, like, legacy is going to be concerned.
I mean, he's got some big, big shoes to fill.
Yeah. I mean, the people in New England, as far as, like...
I've seen the
fans, some of the fans. Most of the fans...
I'd say, like, 40%.
Well...
I mean, you got that.
We'll just say fans in general, but then you're going to have people that are affiliated with the Patriots organization. They were like, okay, well, we're going to move on from Tom Brady like it's nothing. He really wasn't all that great. It was the system. It was Coach Belichick. And then Tom Brady goes out as a 43-year-old quarterback, goes out and wins a Super Bowl with another team that hadn't been to the Super Bowl since the 90s. Or the late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. They hadn't been to the Super Bowl in, over 12 years.
Yeah.
So, and he did it with a completely different group of players who were just kind of there. And when he got there, he changed the lexicon in Tampa Bay. And people in New England were just kind of like, oh, God, we really let that go.
Yeah.
And instead of putting everything on Tom Brady's shoulders, we should have been helping him out by putting a system of weapons around him, building an offensive line, getting a defense that was worth mentioning. And
that was another thing that a lot of the stuff that when I was doing the research on the draft alone, they were saying is sometimes you need to make you got a good team.
Yeah.
But you want to pick to make it a great team.
Right. And so a lot of that is, is New England done by any stretch of the imagination? No. Now,
are they going to learn from their mistakes? That's another question.
That's yet to be seen. Now, what I was hearing on Boston Talk Radio this morning, sports radio this morning, specifically WEEI, the measuring stick that they're going to use to judge as to whether or not the Mac Jones pick was a successful one, even if it's over the course of 10 years. Okay, so so he gets to New England. He takes Cam Newton's job as the starting quarterback, which I think he will. Because really, while Cam Newton has flashes of brilliance as far as being a pocket passer, as far as being a mobile quarterback, he still has flashes of brilliance of his old and of his younger days as the quarterback of Carolina. But do I think that he is still relevant? He can be relevant as a mentor. He can be relevant as maybe a backup quarterback later on. Do I think he's complete 100%? We're sticking with this guy as our starter material? Absolutely not. I think Mac Jones is going to be that guy that's going to step into Tom Brady's shoes. And it may not be the best fitting pair of shoes, he's going to make them his own. I mean, at some point, people are going to look at it and they're going to be like, well, Cam Newton was kind of an experiment. We were just waiting for Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is going to overall be successful. He's going to win games for New England. He's going to be in New England for a very long time. But they're talking about the measuring stick that they're going to use, that the public basically is going to use to measure the success of that pick. And they're going to use as far as like the justification for that pick, even if it's over the course of 10 or 15 years. If he brings a Super Bowl trophy back to Foxborough, then then that pick will be considered justified and it'll be considered a success.
Because Boston fans is one fan base you really don't want to upset.
Yeah, I think comparatively speaking to the New York fan base,
Yeah, it's
I think the New England sports fan is harder on their players and their
exactly,
organizations than anybody else, say again, for the New York fan base. Because the New York fan base, they are fed and enabled by the New York media.
I've never seen like a little baby bottle of New York sports fans and everything. Like they actually have those. It's so cute.
Yeah.
And there was a photo of the media feeding the bottle to the baby for their sports fans.
Right. Now, but I think as far as like, as far as losers in the draft, I would almost, I would almost have to say, just because it's the Jets, and it's I don't have anything against the Jets. I would like to see the Jets win more. I'd like this. I would like to see the AFC East become more of a competitive division than it traditionally has been over the past 15 years. Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see Buffalo become more of a prominent kind of, hey, we're going to step up and take ownership of this division. I think
More or less like back in the 90s.
well, since 2000, 2001 up till today, I mean, it's basically been the New England Patriots division.
Yeah.
Okay, Buffalo won the division last year. Now you could almost try. Well, that was the COVID season. Well, I think that the Buffalo's quarterback, he's going to have a lot to say about that because I mean he's gone in there and he has really helped turn that program around. He's caused the Bills Mafia is what their fan base is called, the Bills Mafia. They've really started to believe in this team again. And I mean, he got them back to the playoffs, and I think that they're just missing just those few couple of pieces to really kind of bring everything together. And once they get those pieces, yeah, you're going to see some instant success, but I don't think it's going to be that prolonged success that you're hoping for. I think that it's still going to take another season or two once those pieces arrive in Buffalo for everything to kind of really congeal. And
Hold it. Just give me. Is it already 1 o'clock? Yeah.
Meals on Wheels?
No, Meals on Wheels already came.
Yeah.
It's their made.
Let me assume the position that I was looking at here so that way it doesn't look as. So, I mean, aside from the Jets, I mean, the Jets really had some solid picks, but I don't think there's going to be really anything. Oh, okay, so their quarterback, the one that they drafted, Trey Lance, or not Trey Lance, but Zach Wilson, he's going to go in and he is going to see exactly what it is that people like Mark Sanchez and some of the other quarterbacks that have played in New York for the Jets, they have just gone in there and they have not done well because the coaching staff lackluster, and that's being nice. The offensive line not giving any kind of protection.
So it's one of those ones that should have
like
gotten
the Jets,
instead of getting a quarterback, they should have gotten defense.
Well, no, they're going to need a quarterback because Sam Darnold, he's gone. He's gone. You have let that ship sail, and he has probably been irreparably damaged and jaded about the game of football because of what he experienced as the quarterback of the New York Jets. The offensive weaponry around these quarterbacks is horrible.
Then he's one of the people that I really want to interview.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. I would, and you
or
know
not
that
not Zach Wilson, but Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnell. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to get some of these professional athletes to come in on our little piddly ass, podcast and just kind of be like, hey,
Well, some of it we can just Zoom and everything like that. That's the new thing. Or
the
Skype.
Zoom,
We don't have
but
to work around all that stuff. But
right. Um, Let me see here.
because I've always wondered on stuff that if you're in it's more or less like psychological stuff that I'm wondering, like what happens when a person is that was supposed to be like or is actually a high end player and everything like that, and they're in a toxic environment to the point, and this is going on like anybody and everything like that. They're in a toxic environment
Yeah.
to where everybody hates them. You got all this negativity and everything. Are you going to be the type of person to go in and go above it, or or are you going to just like succumb to the darkness and just get you? It's basically a self prophecy that you suck because they're telling me I suck, and then you get out of that. Are you and you're still like A1?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, the NFL. I mean, ultimately, it is a superstar-driven league.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're going to get Roger Goodell. He's going to be out there, and he's constantly going to be micromanaging. And for whatever reason, the ownership group still seems to think that this guy is what's best for the NFL, and they're going to continue to, and they're going to extend him as the commissioner of football. And I mean,
Well, that's a lot of things. Even if you go into life in general, a person like on paper looks good, but you're still taking that gamble to where that person might be good on paperwork, but if you actually talk, that's why if I ever get like if we ever get like super big, we actually have to hire and everything like that.
Yeah.
I'm talking to their friends and stuff like that. I don't trust paperwork. I trust people.
yeah. Well,
Well, I
okay,
trust
so
people to extend.
yeah.
Let's just say
Now,
that.
going off of what I said just a minute ago about how the league is really more of a superstar-driven entity now. Aaron Rodgers, big news out of Green Bay. I mean, he very, very disgruntled with the organization. Terry Bradshaw had some really hot takes on it. Now, Terry Bradshaw, for those of you who don't know, Hall of Fame quarterback, used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's now an analyst, a longtime analyst for Fox Sports, or the NFL on Fox. Aaron Rodgers is he's not happy for whatever reason. He's a lot of the opinion is that he's been out of shape about a draft pick from last year because the Packers drafted a quarterback really high in the draft without telling Aaron Rodgers about it, and Aaron Rodgers took that as an attack on him. Like, okay, well, they're just drafting his replacement. And then now he's like, well, I'm not going to come back to the team unless the general manager is fired. And there's so much misinformation being passed around. Well, I say misinformation. There's so much information being passed out. It's really kind of hard to keep up with what's real and what's not. Brett Favre, who Hall of Fame quarterback, used to play for the Packers, came out not too long ago. I think earlier today, he was on ESPN Wisconsin's radio. There's a show, Wild and Tausch. Detailed a text conversation with Rodgers and made comparison to his own departure from the team back in 2008. It said, he said, quote, "Boy, it's a good question. That's the $1 million question." Favre said during a 45-minute interview on the show, says, "I think I know Aaron fairly well, and honestly, I just don't see him coming back and just saying, all right, let's just bury the hatchet. Whatever caused the rift, and I'm not going to, bury the hatchet, whatever caused the rift, and I'm just going to come back and play because I love the guys. I love the Green Bay fans." I assume he does, but his rift isn't with the fans or the players. It's with the front office. Will he just swallow his pride and come in? Maybe, but I don't see that happening. He went on to say, if there's not a trade, my gut tells me that he'd rather sit out than play, but that's just my gut. There's no reason for me to say that other than that's what my gut's telling me. And I think you guys know Aaron fairly well enough to. I think you guys know Aaron fairly well enough to sort of feel the same way. He likened it to how Barry Sanders walked away from the Detroit Lions shortly before the '99 season.
Yeah.
He later on went on to say that Favre, and this source is from ESPN.com too, by the way. So Favre said he texted Rodgers last Thursday, shortly after ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that Rodgers had told some in the Packers organization that he no longer wants to play for the team that drafted him in '05 and ultimately replace Favre in '08. And he joked that he asked Rodgers if he was going to play for the New Orleans Saints this year, referring to the team that Favre grew up watching in Mississippi. He said Rodgers replied by saying he didn't think that it was going to happen, but he added, "Thanks for checking on me. I'll touch base with you after all this is over." And that was it, Favre added. We haven't talked since. Favre said he would be willing to talk through things with Rodgers and offer his perspective on how things ended in Green Bay for him. There are differences, though. Favre noted the primary one being that the team wanted a decision from Favre on whether he planned to play in 2008. And at the time, Favre wasn't ready to commit, so he hastily retired. Ultimately, Favre changed his mind and he wanted to return to the Packers, but by then they had moved on to Rodgers. The team then traded Favre to the New York Jets, and then he played there for 1 year before 2 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings. And he hopes things end differently for Rodgers because being the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, it's on that level of deity or idolatry that you find with Cowboys fans revering their quarterback.
Yeah, because they really don't have that much of a team in that area, and that's what they pretty much go to.
What makes the Packers unique is that they are a publicly owned team. Mm-hmm. And getting season tickets for Lambeau Field is almost impossible. It's like these tickets are passed down from generation to generation.
Really?
Yeah. People that live in Green Bay, they are given the chance to buy a share in the team. So the people that own shares in the team are the ones that get the first picks at season tickets. Now Favre went on to say, "I'd like to see him win a Super Bowl in Green Bay, another one, because I mean Green Bay, they won their Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers when the Super Bowl was here in North Texas, down in Dallas." Mm-hmm. But he said the thing is, the life's too short, and I want him to be happy. He's been there as long as I was there, and I know what that means. But he's put up unbelievable numbers. Win another Super Bowl, then do what you want to do, whether it's to keep playing, play somewhere else, or whatever. But win one more in Green Bay, and then go out the way you want to go out. You don't want to go out this way, whether it's to sit out or play somewhere else. The interview concluded with one final pessimistic line from Favre. He said, quote, It's going to be interesting what takes place here between now and the start of camp, end quote. Favre went on to say, but right now I'm not very optimistic. So
he's in that stage right now to where he really doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, and you almost kind of want to look at it like he's being an over-entitled crybaby.
But maybe that isn't even the case. Maybe it's not. He's over crying crybaby. Maybe, I mean, you can look. It's one of those situations that unless you're there, you can't really know anything about. It could actually be that there's a problem there, and unless you're, and this is just saying that I don't personally know the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be he's just a spoiled little brat.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anything from him to suggest that he is a spoiled little brat. I mean, how many times have you heard Aaron Rodgers go out and say, because I watch the news and everything, the sports news and everything like that, you don't hear anything from the guy.
Yeah.
So if you don't hear anything from the guy, and now he has a problem, either A, it set into a little box and it just festered and everything like that and blew up finally.
Yeah, and it's I guess it kind of helps us a little bit. Because we're a day late filming this episode, so this story with Aaron Rodgers really didn't blow up until yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And so Terry Bradshaw, like I told you, he had some hot takes on it, man, and he's been trending on Twitter. And so, and on Pro Football Talk on NBC Sports, their website, it says Terry Bradshaw was trending on Twitter today. Fortunately, it wasn't because he'd finally done what he'd supposedly done in 2007. Bradshaw continued his assault against Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers during an appearance on the Colin Cowherd Show, which is it's an NBC show, or no, I mean ESPN show.
Yeah.
Among other things, Bradshaw said Rodgers has probably the worst footwork I'd ever seen for a starting quarterback. Frankly, that simply doesn't matter. If the quarterback is delivering the ball accurately, Patrick Mahomes has bad footwork too. But he's already done he's already one of the greatest players in league history. More interesting or intriguing topic came from Bradshaw's comments about Rodgers' contract. Let me see here. I'm trying to find some of the quotes that Bradshaw had made about. Oh no, come on. Let me see here.
Well, while you find that, there is actually news from last Friday. Tim Tebow worked out a thing for the Jaguars.
Yes, he's going to make the transition from quarterback to tight end, and I think that's going to be a better fit for him. He retired from baseball officially, which is fine. Great. Hey, whatever. I can't fault the guy. I really don't. I mean, get out there, chase your dreams, do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Because Tim Tebow. I like the guy. I love the guy to death because he stands up for his convictions. He has not wavered in his message.
That's one thing.
He gets, we get these guys kneeling for the national anthem
and he kneels, but he doesn't kneel for the national anthem. He kneels for his.
He stands for the national. He stands for the flag, but he kneels for the cross, and he unabashedly put his faith on display on the sidelines on national TV, and they somehow thought that he was ramming Christianity down our throats. But yet it's okay for us to have this anti-cop, anti-law enforcement, anti-American
and he
message.
He goes to Haiti, he goes to Africa, and this is on his downtime.
Yeah.
He does this.
And he does this out of his own pocket a lot of times. And he actually is raising funds for and building a children's hospital in the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
it was like the if you even go back to how many times he won the Heisman Trophy in college, and you couldn't beat it because he kept on doing he was always doing volunteer work.
Yeah, I mean,
that's one of the requiems for the Heisman Trophy is if you're doing charity work and everything like that.
Yeah.
And no one could beat him because of that.
Yeah,
he won the Heisman Trophy almost I think 3 years.
One of the wide receivers that played with him at Florida, David Nelson, graduated from Rider. Here in town. Won a national championship with Tim Tebow at quarterback. Loved playing with Tim Tebow. And I think Tim really kind of helped mold a lot of these players.
Yeah, he won. Okay. He was nominated 3 times and only won it once.
Yeah.
But to get that nomination, you have to do a bunch of stuff.
Well, no, for the Heisman Trophy, it's all based on your stats. So
is it?
Yeah, it is. It's the Heisman Trophy is
I thought it was voted in.
Well, yeah, you're voted based on your stats. It comes down to 4 finalists, and the Heisman Trophy alumni votes who wins the next Heisman Trophy. And I think sports writers have something to do with it as well. But all that aside, I'm really glad that Tim Tebow's trying to make that comeback. I think he's gonna be a good fit as a tight end, with Trevor Lawrence being the quarterback. You can almost look for those two to really kind of. Tim Tebow can kind of come in and really help mentor Lawrence.
Yeah.
As far as public image, the way that, with the way to look at the league. Because Tim Tebow's got a very unique perspective. He left the league. He played for the league. He's been able to analyze the league from the outside, and now he's trying to get back in, and I think that as a tight end he will be taken more seriously as a player from the fan base. Unfortunate, and it's an unfortunate thing that this would even be a thing, but I think that he would be taken more seriously as a tight end than he ever was as a quarterback. Not to take away from his quarterbacking skills, because I mean the guy does have some wins, a very in a very very prominent playoff victory against the Steelers as a quarterback for the Broncos. And then what was it? First play from scrimmage in overtime against the Steelers, he throws a touchdown strike, and then he gets dismantled by New England the following week. But all that aside, but Bradshaw, getting back to Bradshaw and Aaron Rodgers. He called him. Bradshaw called. He was not nice to Rodgers, like at all. He kind of really laid it out there. With him being that upset, shows me how weak he is. Who the hell cares who you draft? He's a 3-time MVP in the league, and he's worried about this guy they drafted last year at number 1. And he goes, and for him to be upset, my God, I don't understand that. Let me see here.
But Terry's like a old veteran in the sport, so
yeah. He's old school smash mouth football kind of a guy. But he has spent Terry Bradshaw has been an analyst for Fox for going on 20 years, I think now.
No, longer than that, because he was back in the 90s, wasn't he? I'm finding out.
Yeah, but he just raked Aaron Rodgers over the coals, and and I think to a degree, yes, we need to hear more of that, because these superstars in the league, they think that, okay, well, I've done this, 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 and this. Well, that does buy you some clout. It does not buy you everything. And I think that a lot of these players, they've forgotten what it's like to get raked over the coals. Just because, and it's like, okay, Aaron Rodgers calling for the firing of the general manager of the team. No, while you're the guy out there on the field putting these results up and producing these numbers and getting the wins for these teams, or for this team, who do you think was responsible for putting those key pieces of personnel into place to help enable you to win? You can't really have one without the other. Yeah, you can bring in another GM, but as soon as Aaron Rodgers leaves, guess who they're going to hire back?
Yeah.
And it's like, at that point, what is the message that's being sent? So these two need to either get put into a room somewhere with a pair of boxing gloves and just have at it, or they need to publicly go out, have a press conference together, and really, at that point, flesh it out for everybody to see. Either way, one way or the other, Aaron Rodgers needs to shit or get off the pot. You either sit out this year, you need to just go ahead and retire, you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to take a breather.
Yeah,
sometimes you just need to take a breather. But Terry Bradshaw's been doing broadcasting since 1984.
Oh, wow, yeah, okay. But yeah,
because as soon as he retired from football, and his stats are so stellar. 4-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
NFL's most valuable player. He's a generational player.
Yeah, he was one of those generational guys. But
yeah,
Terry Bradshaw said this. He says, quote, "Here's what I'd do. I wouldn't budge. Let him gripe. Let him cry. Retire. You're 38. Go ahead and retire. See you later." I'm really strong about stuff like that, and it just makes him look weak. And in my way of looking at it, it makes him look weak. How dare you draft somebody? I play better than they thought I would. Me being the MVP really screwed them, really messed them up. Well, obviously, he didn't need the money, so he probably should just retire and go do Jeopardy. I wouldn't budge. He goes on.
He was the one that was supposed to go on.
Well, he loves Jeopardy, and he was constantly going on there. Whenever they would have their celebrity Jeopardies, he was constantly winning. Yeah. And he had voiced some some desires to want to be the new host.
Because he was he guest host for a couple of
Yeah, he did guest
episodes.
host for a few, and he was like, "Yeah, this would be something
know
I'd
what?
really like to do."
Well, you know why? You know why one of those game shows is really easy to do and everything like that? Is because they do the entire season probably within a month or two,
Yeah, yeah,
and the rest of the time, I mean, they do all the seasons. It's like,
yeah,
but that's the thing on that.
yeah. I mean, they were still playing new episodes with Alex Trebek as the host up until like I think a month and a half after Alex Trebek had died.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, Bradshaw really kind of. He really kind of hit it on the head. I mean, Aaron Rodgers really put Green Bay as an organization into a pickle. I mean, if he retires, then he takes care of it. They can't trade him. If they trade him, they're going to lose too much money. So, I mean, they're going to take a hit. I mean, they're going to take a bath on his contract.
Yeah, that's where a lot of
Yeah.
sports news places were saying. Mostly it was Dan Hathaway off of Drinking Bros. It's a gamble.
Yeah.
It's a really big gamble, and it really is. I mean, you can let him go. He's still, if he's able to go and do the Jeopardy thing, and it might just be the fact that he's at that age to where I can't really say he's at the age where he should be retiring from that kind of sport, but because you got people that like I hate to hammer this down, but you got Tom Brady, who's like almost like what 42,
Yeah, he's 43. Yeah.
43, and he's still playing like
And
on
he's
his A
under
game.
contract for another 2 years at least.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, the guy. I mean, it's about your work ethic. Your work ethic.
yeah,
And while Tom Brady, do I agree with everything that he says? No. But he conducts himself as a professional. When he shows up for work, he's the first one there. He spends a lot of time in the film room. I mean, the guy is relentless about his craft. And he's always the last guy to leave. So, it's
much as you want to hate him, you can't hate him.
yeah.
I mean, you could say it's like, man.
And it's always easy to hate the guy that's winning.
Yeah.
But
That goes up the same thing. It's like
now, is he a good person in out in real life, out in the world? I don't know. I don't know enough about him personally to say either way.
yeah, even when you look at a person doing interviews and everything like that, you really can't really know a guy.
Right.
Except Michael Irving. That guy puts everything on the table when he does interviews.
Yeah.
He is so entertaining. I don't
It's
even
entertaining to watch, and even when
Yeah.
you knew, like when he was a player, he was stabbing guys in the locker room when they used to do haircuts. I mean, he stabbed one of his teammates with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, he is one of those characters that you see what you get, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah, but yeah. Something of note here, real quick, and we might try to wrap this up here. Amazon was supposed to start airing Thursday Night Football exclusively in 2023. That got pushed up to next year. This will be Fox's last season of broadcasting Thursday Night Football,
Oh crap!
and they're not leaving the NFL. I mean that is worth billions of dollars to the NFL and Fox. So I mean that is a match made in heaven. And those are going to be consummate bedfellows for years now.
Yeah,
Amazon really didn't have a problem finding the money to get the rights a year sooner. A tweet from Darren Rovell on Twitter: Amazon will spend $1.2 billion a year on their Thursday Night Football rights. That works out to about 0.2% of their expected 2021 revenue.
Oh wow!
So Amazon not hurting for cash.
No,
I think what
I'm
they're
still
doing.
waiting for the Lord of the Rings
Well, that's a
or the
the series that they're supposed to be producing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
going to be kind of cool. But and to me, with Amazon doing that really kind of
it really bolsters
that
to
is a power play. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're incentivizing people to subscribe to Amazon Prime,
because
not only for their online shopping, but you get that access to Prime Video, which is where you're going to have to get your Thursday Night Football.
Well, what's happening right now With the streaming services and everything, HBO Max and Netflix have been in talks to monetize. Basically, put advertisement and everything. You could still buy the premium package to where you don't get any advertisements or anything. And this is Netflix, because they're basically bleeding money right now, and they
Well,
have been
Netflix
for a
just
while.
raised their rates, and to me, honestly, and I'll catch hell for this, but I don't care. Netflix, I think a big part of Netflix's problem is the fact that they are catering these shitty productions to the woke crowd. Let me finish. I mean, you had a lot of these really great quality shows like Lost in Space. It's getting one final season and then they're canceling it. They went in and they canceled all the Marvel series that they had.
Well, that wasn't their fault. It was more Disney.
Well, to an extent, yeah, Disney did have a say in that, but Netflix was canceling those series well before Disney Plus was even a remote twinkle in the eye of the public. Okay, but Netflix is okay. So if you look at it, okay, so and here's where we get nerdy. Look at Firefly for an example. Amazing show. 14 episodes long. It's been years since the show was canceled, and it still has a devout following, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Fox did not renew that show because Fox, the executives at Fox didn't think that it was going to do that well. They're like, yeah, we'll order this one season for 14 episodes.
13.
Was it 13? I thought it was 14.
It was only 13.
13. I swear it was 14. Anyways.
Well, it's kind of okay.
That's beside the point.
Quick cropo on this one. You really can't tell because the episodes were ran in a really fucked up order.
Yeah. Okay. So,
especially when it came out on TV. But anyways, go on.
Anyway, so they order one season, 13 or 14 episodes of Firefly, and they cancel it. And when the show went to syndication, whenever the show went into reruns, the popularity of this show exploded. And then Fox was just sitting there going, how we didn't
Well,
know.
they did the same thing with Family Guy.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Family Guy. Family Guy saw its resurgence through Cartoon Network, and then Fox was like, oh, well, we're going to bring the show back and just sign them for new episodes. But, Netflix is doing the same thing that Fox did. And they get these really great shows, and they cancel them, and then they renew people like the Obamas, or they renew David Letterman. And they're doing it to cater to this woke crowd, and it's like, there's a new hashtag going around. It's hashtag Get Woke, Go Broke.
Yeah.
And I think we're really starting to see that come into play, especially with these streaming services. They're catering to these small vocal minority crowds instead of focusing on actual content. And ultimately, do I think that the overly liberal and ultimately uneducated
I think
approach
it's
to life that the Hollywood mainstream Hollywood crowd that they've adopted this as their own kind of a thing. For example, like the Oscars this year, they took a nosedive in the ratings. They basically
63%.
Yeah, 63% dip in the ratings. And to me, if that's not a glaring indication that nobody cares what the Hollywood elite has to say anymore, I don't know what is. Unless they just get like a 4% viewer rating, the network, what was it, NBC that aired it this year? Or ABC? I can't remember.
It's usually ABC that airs.
Yeah, I think it was ABC. Anyway, the network that was responsible for the Oscars this year took a bath on it. Absolutely took a bath on it because nobody watched it. But, because you start seeing some of these other networks that they're offering, like, specials and, they do one-offs or, they offer something that's a better alternative to watching the Oscars, and I think that Netflix really needs to pay attention. And
yeah, it was ABC.
In Netflix, regardless of what streaming service that you're a part of, these platforms really need to start paying attention to the writing on the wall, because for the most part, people are absolutely sick of having this woke message rammed down their throats. And it's either anti-American, anti-police, it's pro-black, it's anti every other group. These streaming platforms are going to run into a very slippery slope of of introvert or not introverted, but reverse racism, because they're going to promote one ethnic group over everybody else, whether it's black one month, Hispanic the next
And
month,
the next day,
Asian
it was like,
the
why
next
aren't you
month.
supporting? And it's already starting
Yeah.
a little bit to where it's
And they
not
try
as
to
bad.
throw,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, they
it's
throw
like,
that
oh,
card
we're
out.
this support of the month is this. This support of the month is this. I mean, you have like you got the autism month, you got the Black History Month,
Yeah.
you got a lot of stuff. It was like, oh no, we support this now.
Yeah.
But in the next month, they're totally against it.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes into that tirade that we had during our was it first or second sports episode, where we were talking about politics and sports, and just they don't have a place in sports. It's just leave it alone.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut it out that because
Yeah.
you'll go into
Well,
your
and I'll
tangent
make it
again.
quick, because like
Okay, you
yeah,
got a minute. You have a minute, and I'm
the
timing it.
segue from Hollywood back to sports. Morgan Freeman, I mean, he was quoted as saying, he's like, I don't want a Black History Month. He said, because if you want to get away from racism, you need to stop espousing these superiority complexes by assigning months to people. We don't have a White History Month. We don't have an Asian History Month. We've got a Black History Month, though. We've got a Hispanic History Month, but nobody else. I mean, and we need to stop. We need to get away from that. And sports figures need to get away from that, because you're taking away from the product that you were hired to produce. And I think overall, it's watering down society. But to that end, getting back to Amazon spending $1.2 billion a year.
You didn't take the full minute.
Getting back to Amazon, I think this is going to work out for them. And to be fair, that was your fault talking about Amazon and HBO Max. I mean, Netflix and HBO Max.
That wasn't my fault. You could have just went off of it and just
we
cut
can
it off.
roll, yeah, but whatever. You know that's not going to happen.
You just
roll back the tape and watch it. That's not my fault. Anyways.
Oh yeah, it's totally your fault because you went on the freaking tangent. I just said, hey, HBO Max and Netflix are gonna have to monetize.
Okay.
That was
Anyways,
all I said.
So we've been at this for almost 2 hours, maybe a little bit
Yeah,
over.
we
But-
can actually cut this off a little bit. Because we got.
But so I'm trying to think of anything that's coming up that's like big and pertinent for next week. I think the NBA season is finally winding down.
NBA.
NHL, they're still in full swing. Kyle Busch won recently this past weekend at Kansas Speedway for NASCAR. I think Darlington next week is the race in Darlington. And Darlington, what's unique about the race in Darlington? It's throwback weekend, so it's cool to look at the different the like the Xfinity guys and the Cup guys to see what they do with their paint schemes. And this is really the one weekend a year that they get to really kind of do something cool with the paint scheme on their cars. I know that a lot of guys are.
How do they do that with all the sponsors though?
The sponsors really get on board with it, because I mean that race alone, every car that's in the field really gets this. They really get a lot of camera time, and it's not so much like if you watch the races on TV, they spend a lot of time either mid pack or up front. They don't focus through the field. Mm-hmm. But with the throwback paint scheme weekend, it's really cool because it incorporates the history of the sport, and it gives each team a chance to be on screen, to be on camera, and the sponsors that help sponsor these cars, that help these teams afford to go to the different racetracks every week, it gives them a chance to be advertised, which is what they're doing when they're paying these dollars to to these teams. It's basically just a rolling billboard. Now, so like Alex Bowman, he runs the 48 Allied Chevy Camaro. He's doing an old modified street stock type paint scheme that his crew chief ran back in the day.
Oh, nice.
And what was it? Kyle Larson runs the number 5 Hendrick HendrickCars.com car for Hendrick Motorsports. He's running a paint scheme that he ran on his first go-kart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like Chase Elliott, he's running the Hooters paint scheme that weekend.
I just want to see the cars.
Yeah,
the paint scheme on the cars, because that sounds really interesting.
yeah, and so like okay, so Chase Elliott, he's running one of his main sponsors is Hooters, the Hooters restaurant chain.
I hate Hooters.
Well, but the paint scheme that he's bringing to the track is a throwback to Alan Kawicki. He was he was an owner / driver back in the 90s.
Okay.
And he ran the number 7 Hooters Ford Thunderbird car, and he won a championship in that car. And so he's paying homage to Alan Kawicki by running that particular paint scheme on his Chevy Camaro this coming weekend. And it's really kind of cool just to go and look. I think it's jayski.com. It's JAYSKI.com, jayski.com. He's really kind of like the go-to for NASCAR news. And
what is
something Jayski, JAYSKI, jayski.com. He'll have a section on there for paint schemes, and it'll show if the teams have released what the team is going to run that weekend. It'll show what that paint scheme is going to be.
Okay, here we go.
Some sad NASCAR news, and something that's a little personal to me. Former driver Eric McClure died over the weekend, 43 years old. And I had the chance to meet Eric McClure a few years back when the Xfinity guys were in Texas for a weekend. And I used to build 124 scale cars. Mm-hmm. The plastic model kits, I would detail the crap out of them. And I've got some of those pictures from that weekend. I've got pictures of the models that I built. And I'll send them to you so you can put them up if you want. But he died. And so I texted one of my really good friends that, was friends with him.
Yeah, it was just cardiac health problems.
Well,
that's all it's saying.
Yeah, there's not a lot of details about it, but he stepped away from driving to really kind of become an owner, and his first wife, his ex-wife, they had 7 girls together. There was a lot of
domestic violent charges.
It was a domestic abuse charge
and a order for 12 months of probation.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Just being on the inside and knowing that this is going to be seen by people, I don't want to put out a lot of the information. I'll give you some of the information that I know, from the other side of the argument off camera. But the stories that were released about him, the domestic abuse, the things that went on during his divorce, don't believe it don't take it at face value. Okay.
Yeah, some of that stuff you got to look at. Like I say, a lot of the time, sometimes you got to know the situation.
Now, I had the chance again to meet Eric McClure. Spent some time with him that race weekend. We hung out. We ate lunch at as part of the race team that weekend. I built some models of two of the cars that he had run, and he had actually commissioned me to build these for him. I charged him like $50 to build 2 of them because he was giving us garage passes and tickets to the race the following day.
Okay.
But he was a really down-to-earth guy, absolute Christian. His dad was Larry McClure. He used to own the Morgan McClure Motorsports. They ran the number 4 Kodak film car back in the 90s, Sterling Marlin, Kenny Irvin, I think Bobby Hamilton even ran that car, and these are some of like the old school like legacy names that from the sport, that had run that car. Hefty trash bags, hefty plastic products. They were Eric's primary sponsor. They were literally his ride or die. I've got one of his hefty racing hats in my storage unit.
Okay.
But I had seen that it was announced on Twitter that he died, and so I texted my buddy. I was like, "Hey, did you hear that Eric McClure died?" And he was like, "What? Where did you hear this?" And he texted me back and goes, "No, never mind. It's already been verified." He's like, I'm devastated." And like the people that knew him, I mean, I've met him and I've had the chance to talk to him, but my friend knew him. I mean, they were bona fide friends. I mean, they had each other's phone numbers. They hung out. They did things. They spent time at and away from the track. I mean, they were friends, and you really start to see the human side of these drivers, these personalities that are going out there and putting their lives on the line in the cars, and there's so much more than just that. I mean, they're complex human beings like you and I are, and anything aside from what the public or from what the public relations from NASCAR had released about him post driver. And he was actually in the process of trying to become a driver again. He wanted to get back in the car because he really missed that competitive fire. He had actually since his divorce, had met an amazing woman, and they were engaged, and they were about to get married. And I mean, it was actually his fiance that confirmed it on her Facebook page.
Yeah. Is it Karen Tibbs? I got the Tibbs right. But
Yeah. Kara, yeah, something like that. But you really, I mean, my heart and my prayers go out to his family, his daughters, his parents, and his close and extended family, to include his friends. Really, you look at what he endured on the personal side of things. He almost died a couple of years ago from an undiagnosed injury stemming from a crash that he was involved in at Talladega.
Okay.
Before he retired from driving the first time, and he recovered from that. And he really, I mean, he was making strides towards getting back in a car. And I mean, he would have had that sponsorship come with him. So I mean, that's already one hurdle that he wouldn't, that he'd already overcome. As far as getting back in a car, it's just finding that team that would put him in good equipment to make him competitive, things of that nature. Because I mean, the guy was intelligent. I mean, absolutely intelligent. And like I said, he down to earth. No BS about the guy. I mean, he would tell you what he thought, and he would be the same kind of guy that would come along and just really kind of take you under his wing and really kind of just talk to you like a human being. And
he didn't have a overinflated ego.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't overinflated at all. I mean, the guy knew, hey, look, I'm here because of the fans, and this is what I do for a living, and not everybody gets to do it. And he didn't take it for granted. And I know that hanging up the helmet and walking away from the sport, I think it was more health related and more personal related. But I knew that he missed that competitive fire, which is why he bought into the ownership of a late model car, and some of the lower tier series in the NASCAR side of the world, and him wanting to put the helmet back on and get back into a car, and really just kind of at the age of 43 really shows that the competitive fire never really leaves these guys once they get out of the car. I mean, that stuff gets into your blood. It's like baseball or football or even basketball to an extent to some people. They need that competition, and it's not because it's what defines them as an individual. It's like soldiers, veterans. When we get out of the military, a lot of us lose that identity, but that fire to be a part of something bigger than yourself never really leaves.
Yeah.
So we need to find ways to try to hone that or to harness that. And he tried to do that through the ownership side. And ultimately, he was given the opportunity to get cleared medically to come back and be a driver again. But
Well, it looks like he was actually having health problems back in 2013.
Right, like I said,
It
and that
was
was
it was
stemming from
it kept on escalating a little
Yeah,
bit because he
and
had treatment for his kidney failure in
yeah,
both of his kidneys.
and again,
That was in 2019.
and it was because of an undiagnosed injury from a
Yeah, and he
Talladega
had
accident.
and had at least 2 concussions and is concurrently leaving him with long-term side effects.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a stellar career. I mean, even that. 2016 on the 14th season career, he made 288 starts.
yeah,
That's really high up there.
yeah. And you could count on him to be in the field. I think
Yeah.
his best finish was like I think it was third at Talladega. But I mean, the guy, aside from his driving, his driver stats, he was a quality human being, and I think NASCAR is going to be. It's. I think the NASCAR community as a whole is going to be, I don't want to say worse off without him, but at the same time, he brought something to the community, the racing community, that is something that's very intangible. I mean, he was approachable, he was personable, and above all else, he was genuine. So he will be missed.
And on the last news, this just came in about a couple of hours ago. Capitals forward has been fined $5,000 a day after he punched a Raven Pavel Bolkovich in the head and tossed a helmetless Amory. This is the reason why I don't follow hockey. Is because a lot of the names I can't even pronounce.
Yeah, I was just looking at that actually.
On the ice. I mean, hockey's one of those sports, though. I still consider hockey like you got your football players and you got your baseball players and everything like that, and they're in the league. And hockey players are a different type of breed altogether, only because of the one thing and one thing only. I've seen a guy get his throat cut, go into the locker room, get stitched up, and back on the ice.
Yeah, I know. I know that.
And I'm not talking like it was like, oh, it was a tiny. No,
no.
It was like gushing blood.
He called for a priest to have his last rites administered in the locker room, and when they get him to the hospital, he asked the doctor. He's like, "Hey, can I get back out there for the third period?" Well, no. I mean, because he he was afraid. His biggest fear was that his mom was going to watch him die on TV. But he was out there like 2 nights later.
Yeah,
back in the crease.
It's just it's a force of nature with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, but this Tom Wilson guy, he really.
Because I saw this.
When you sucker punch guys, I mean, fighting in hockey is kind of one of the things that you go to a hockey game to watch.
Yeah, because you get a hockey match.
You get your 2 enforcers, you get your 2 goons out there.
Yeah.
And they'll square off, and the fight is broke up.
Well,
at the NHL level, the fight is broken up when somebody hits the ice.
Technically, it's like 2 sports right there.
Yeah.
Because you got guys that can actually play on hockey level and everything like that, and then you got a person that plays on hockey level and is a good boxer.
Yeah, I mean the Washington Capitals rather, they they deleted this tweet. I mean it just. I mean, what is it? It's I mean okay. So they showed a picture of this Tom Wilson guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they broke it down into brackets, like his head is like all sheesh,
Oh yeah,
and the body
I see
is
now.
showing rent free, and then down at the skates,
Yeah.
it's like the best goal scorer in the league.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I'm watching the event of what happened.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I
it
saw
is
that
hilarious.
too. I'm just like, wow, but
I'll.
I think what gets under the skin of a lot of I think what gets under the skin of a lot of people about hockey is the fact that it's just a sport dominated by alpha males, and
I wouldn't say that all too much. Only because I have a lot of people that actually.
Well, so you get these old time hockey fans. They're like, okay, this sport is what
No,
it's
I
supposed
just
to
the
be.
male thing. I know a lot of women that watch hockey. I agree with you. They're very.
Well, then let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Let me reword that. It's not so much the fact that
Alpha
it's dominated
personality.
by it's an alpha personality type sport. So yes, if we're going to be gender inclusive here, yes, it's an alpha personality sport, and a lot of these people that are starting to learn about the game, they're like, well, why are they fighting? They don't need to be fighting to fight. It's just unprofessional. It's like, you know what?
It's part of the sport.
It's part of the sport. It's just like bench clearing brawls are part of the sport in baseball. You know, you get the two teams, even the bullpens empty out, and everybody meets in the middle. There's a lot of shoving. Yeah, there's going to be some punches thrown, but there's some gentleman rules to it. You know, and I mean, it's like it's not savage barbarism. You know, where you mean guys are getting cut and stabbed, and people aren't pulling guns out in the middle of these scrums. They get broke up, and you're going to have these cooler heads that prevail, and then you're going to have your ejections, and you're going to have your suspensions handed out. And people are going to pay the piper for the things that they did during that particular event, and then everybody walks away. Yes, the rivalry is still there. Yes, the animosity is still there, but it gets handled. The games police themselves, and
Yeah, because
it's
basically it literally is. It's not the goon; it's the enforcers.
Yeah, but you get these people that are like, well, that's just toxic masculinity. It's like, we need to get away from that because I personally.
We're cut for time on that one.
Yeah,
because
we'll get into that later.
Yeah,
but I just let this guy be. I mean, he's going to get his penalties handed out to him. Fine, whatever. Do what needs to be done there, but then just move on it and let's play the game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the end of it. So thank you for watching Nerd Sports, and catch you next time. I'm David Dickerman.
I'm Johnny Skelton.
And thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Have a good week.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. How long did that one run?
I don't know because we're still gonna do the 30-minute of.